Welcome to another episode of Before You Kill Yourself with your host, Leo Flowers. I am Leo Flowers. Today's guest is somebody who's no stranger to the podcast. I've been on his podcast because he has two of them. I mean, this guy's a go-getter. He has two podcasts, two YouTube series. He has four books. He's probably working on the fifth book right now. Today's guest is author, speaker, podcaster, YouTuber, solopreneur, Vincent A. Lanci. Welcome to the podcast, Vincent.
Leo, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited to talk with you again.
Yeah, man, this is going to be dope. And I really want to jump into it because I'm excited. You have a new book called, I don't know if it's new. I don't know how new it is. It's new to me, but Mental Health Week. And I love the title of this book because I was just in Alaska and I was talking to someone who, after one of my comedy shows, she's a veterinarian. And she said that she works for 3 weeks and then she takes the fourth week of every month off as a mental health week. And I had never heard of anybody doing that. Now, granted, you had to be some kind of privileged to be able to take an entire week off. I know my mom's growing up couldn't do that. My dad couldn't do that. I can't even do that. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. But you have a book called Mental Health Week. Talk to us about that. I want to definitely get into your traumatic brain injury, but I want to start off with the book.
I want to even take you back one step. That is the brand new book, book 4, which we will talk about, but you brought up mental health weeks. In my third book, Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health, that's the book for older students and adults where I collaborated with 6 other experts, where there's a 7-day workbook to work on your mental health a little bit each day. And hopefully you repeat these exercises and turn into a lifestyle. My chapter is on mental health days each week, mental health breaks throughout the day, and getting enough rest each night. I love how she does the mental health week. I'm no stranger to the mental health day each week. Once I wore myself down one too many times, I realized the importance of taking that day where I don't do any work. Every idea I get, I write it on a notepad. I don't open up the computer. I make sure I do not, because I come back stronger the next day that I took that rest. No matter how much work we have to remember to rest, or we're not going to be able to accomplish our goals. No matter what, mental health comes first. There is no entrepreneurship without mental health.
And I'm emphasizing this for the listeners out there because we know that perfectionism, burnout, go, ambition is so linked to suicide rates. And part of that is because not only are we trying to do things perfectly and we're trying to do things now, we also are over identifying with the work that we do. So I am nothing without being an author, without being a podcaster, without being a mother, without being a father, without, we have these labels we put on ourselves. And a lot of us are trying so hard to live up to the expectations of these labels of how we are identifying ourselves through our performance, that we're afraid. We're afraid to take time off. We're afraid to take a mental health break, to take a second, to meditate, to journal, to, like you said, write it down and say, I'm going to do that tomorrow, right? Because we're all caught up in this rat race. Was that part of your experience, Vincent, prior to the traumatic brain injury?
Prior to the traumatic brain injury, I was a student who could look over a piece of paper before an exam and get a B on the test, no problem. I wasn't a genius or anything. I'm not saying that, but I was able to retain that information, use my common sense, and get a good grade. After the traumatic brain injury, I became a student who now had to read, write, type, read, write, type, read, write, type over and over and over again just to retain a tenth of the information. I had to rewire my brain because it was either sit and sulk, cry, why me, why is this a traumatic brain injury happening to me? Or I turned something horrible into something great by being able to share my story, helping that person out there who is in similar shoes. And now, as you mentioned, we are up to the 4th book, the second one on mental health, just to do just that, give back through my stories and experiences, which I know you do quite a bit, Leo.
So before you even get into what does mental health week or mental health day or moment even looks like, Talk to us about the traumatic brain injury.
Mhm.
How did that take place? How old were you? How long ago was this? And what were the challenges after?
Yeah, I hope your listeners can really put themselves into my shoes. I'm going to be very vivid for you, Leo. It was 21 years old, my first friend to turn 21. We went out for his birthday. As the night's ending, I'm an early bird, as you know by now. I'm up and at him early. Midnight had passed, and I was getting tired a little bit after that. Instead of getting in the car with someone drinking and driving, or not driving themselves, in any of that situation, I decided to walk home. Lived about a mile away. Did the walk all the time with friends, no problem. As I'm walking home, I forget my keys. I get to my door, but I live next to a gas station. Figure get some Gatorades, hang out until my roommates get back. I'm getting restless because I'm tired. I want to just go to sleep with my dog. Go back out to try to find my roommates. Can't find them, so I turn back one more time. I just didn't know that this last 10-minute walk would be almost a death sentence. I get to I don't know, I could probably throw a football to my front door if I had that type of arm. I go to cross the street to my house, and as I'm getting over from the bicycle lane to the sidewalk, a car crept up behind me, took me out. The police officer, I happened to be at a police checkpoint where this happened, said I went as high as a basketball hoop, landed on my face. I had a traumatic brain injury, broken fib, where my bone came out of my leg. They had to put a rod in there for the rest of my life, a couple bolts to make sure that I'm able to walk again. So from that point, them not thinking I'll make it through the initial evening, to then the doubt shifting to I'll never walk, talk, or do anything on my own again, to 24/7 aid the rest of my life, to never graduating, you name it. Every expectation was thrown at me, and that's where I learned that expectations are just that. That's what people expect. It's either you live up to their expectations or you define your own.
So you have rods placed in you. They're not expecting you to walk. What kind of drugs are they pumping you with?
Man, I could tell you some crazy stories, Leo. With the traumatic brain injury, you already have difficulty separating dreams from reality. You don't really know what's what. When I woke up from the coma after a few days, the nurse had said, "Vince, what school do you go to?" I had responded, Pulaski Elementary School. I was a 21-year-old finance student who thought I was in kindergarten. So that's how far back I was. At that point, I had the pain in my leg because I just had surgery. I was on painkillers, the morphine, you name it, plus combining that with the confusion of being a traumatic brain injury survivor. I was in the shower one day. I couldn't move myself. I sat in a plastic bench, picture a locker room for sporting a sport team. Nozzles. I'm on a plastic bench. The guy's got a hose on me. I put shampoo in my hair, whatever, real uncomfortable. But as I'm looking at the water go into the drains, I'm seeing red water. I'm seeing blood. I thought I was in Silence of the Lambs. That was just one way that my brain was playing tricks on me. I talk about all of this in great detail in my first book, Left for Dead, because my mom had a journal where she kept note of everything I said, did, ridiculous things, everything I ate, you name it, during those first 2 weeks. And now it's a tool to help other people who are in that situation.
So you talk about the pain in your leg. It sounds like you're having some auditory and maybe visual hallucinations
Hmm.
with that. There's also confusion. And what about, when I think about a car accident, traumatic brain injury, different surgeries, I know this is a random question, but what about going to the bathroom? Like, was like,
Oh, dude, you wouldn't even understand. I'm
talk
laying in
to
my
me.
bed and I can't even get up. I have to click a button, wait for a nurse to come in, and then I got to have someone else hold me up while I pee. Or I started out. It's very blurry the beginning of my experience. Whatever was documented helped a great deal. I'm still in great contact with the amazing doctors and nurses at Tampa General Hospital. I'm humbled to be on one of the councils there, the Family and Patient Board. They I had to go from sitting down to peeing to holding up against the wall, being held up. Obviously, I had the catheter in at one point because I was out. I was in a coma for almost a week, and then I had the surgery, and then I came out of the medically induced coma after that. It was just very blurry and just confusing time, and that's what makes a traumatic brain injury scary and far worse than the broken leg. I'm only I'm a short guy. I'm not going pro in anything anyway. I'm not an athlete that way. I It was because of someone else's poor decision, my life was adversely affected ever more. and I'm just trying to make the most of it each day.
And so what's going on for you internally? Because right now, the how long ago was this accident?
This was my senior year, 2013, January.
Okay. So we're almost 10 years removed. We're about 8 years out.
Crazy.
And I would imagine there was a range of emotions that coursed through you. Can you take us through that? Because a lot of people who are going through this might feel shame or guilt or feel like they're not like being angry or resentful or whatever. Like they're trying to suppress those emotions down. And I would imagine you went through a range of emotions.
I'm absolutely happy to touch on this because something I learned is no matter how many doctors or nurses tell you what may happen, hearing it from the horse's mouth, if you will, goes much further. Hearing what a fellow traumatic brain injury survivor went through, and as I've connected with so many now, it's just great to resonate with each other because we can help each other grow. You're short on edge. You're very angry. You're on you're on a short leash. You feel like everything gets you angry. You're confused. When you're confused, you're not confident. Um, Me and my mother bickering back and forth. I can recall it like it was yesterday, going to different doctor's appointments, this and that. But advice I could have for anyone going through the same thing is that do not miss an appointment, a meeting, anything. The more you go to, the quicker you're back to your normal routine. Things may never be different. You can work hard to make the most of your situation, but just because some areas are more challenging doesn't mean that they aren't worth pursuing.
So you went through anger, you were short, and like you said, like your mom is helping you through this, and I'm
Mhm.
sure this is taking a toll on your mom. How long were you in a hospital for?
I was in the hospital for almost a month. I
Wow.
believe it was like 24 days or something.
And so we have the physical pain, shooting through your leg, the confusion, the emotional pain of anger, and just trying to piece things together and being on edge. Financially, being in a hospital for a month, what was the financial hit?
Oh man, this is a crazy misconception too. When people hear my story, they automatically think that people who go through something like this have to get a big payout. I still haven't even seen a courtroom. This is 2013. We're talking. There are a lot of pros to Florida, but there are also a lot of cons to Florida. And then those is the judicial system, where how long things take. Uh, my hospital bills were hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had to use my own insurance because at the time that's just what it was. This was a hit and run accident. They didn't get the guy until they didn't make an arrest until I think almost it was right around my birthday in August. I want to say like 8 months or something. It took so long, and my blood was on the car, my DNA. It was just a very frustrating process, Leo. And I come from a middle class family, working family, taught me the definition of hard work and values and morals. And if I hit a dog or a squirrel or whatever, I'm going to stop the car and pull over and make sure it's all right. I'm not going to, in my opinion, make a cowardice move and just flee onto the highway. It was off the strip where bars and restaurants are. It was late at night. Uh, if the police officer happened to not be at that police checkpoint, I would probably be unquestionably dead. Another car driving by me at night, run over my head, I'm dead. Cop had two choices. The cop had two choices where it was either chase the guy, make the arrest, or save my life. And I'm forever grateful he saved my life and brought me to TGH because it was a one-way street, again, off the strip where bars and restaurants are. It sucks what happened to me, but it's worse what happened to my mom, my family up in New York. They got a call in the middle of the night. Hey, if this is your son, can't say much on the phone, but he may not make it. My mom and parents had to scramble together all this money in the middle of the night to get in the plane. Only flights available right away were to Lauderdale. My parents had to fly to Fort Lauderdale, and before they boarded that connecting flight to Tampa, they had to call TGH and say, "Hey, he's been still here." So that what they had to go through, I don't wish upon my worst enemy's parents, and I know it took a toll not just on me but everybody around me. So I think it's my duty to keep doing what I'm doing, keep putting on and putting people on my podcasts and books and just giving back through everything I've been through because I was here for a reason, whether religious, spiritual, something happened and I'm still here. So I don't take that lightly.
And like you said, this happened at the age of 21. Was this for you your first big challenge, or were there challenges before this? I mean, I know you mentioned, you're not, tall and athletically gifted by any means. Were there other challenges before this one?
Oh, I was athletically gifted. I'm just saying there's a point after high school where you got to decide where to focus your energy. I was never an exceptional athlete, but I played wrestling, baseball, cross country. There were ups and downs, and I had some adversity young with some passings in the family, and that was big for me. But nothing like this, Leo. This situation, I was 21 years old, the whole world ahead of me. I'm applying for jobs, getting ready to graduate. And then I get told because of something I didn't do, I got to go home. I'm a liability on campus. I have a TBI. I got to get cleared by doctors. I am social media senior year. That toll on your mental health is a whole new story. I ended up deleting all my social media. And honestly, if it weren't for business, I probably wouldn't have any social media. I give my subscribers and followers a look into my personal life because I am grateful for their support in my journey. But I'm not really fond of the way the majority uses social media and what they use it for. I use it to share my message and hopefully inspire some folks along the way.
Yeah, I was definitely inspired by your post of your friends from college. Yeah, I think you went to school in Florida, right?
Went to school, University of Tampa.
University of Tampa, and you have this photo of you, and it looks like maybe 10 other friends, and it really resonated with me because I just went home for homecoming, and it's so special and so nourishing to be able to hang out with friends that and people that you have a history with, that you spent 4 to 5 years of your life with, and you have these shared stories and to catch up with them. How was that experience for you to hang out with your friends from college?
Yeah, those formative years, you become a man. In those years, you meet your friends in high school, but you meet your family in college. I feel maybe a select few, of course, in high school. But that picture is at Vincent A Lanci on Instagram. It's one of my recent posts. That picture is actually at TGH, and it just gives me hope and motivation because that's how close that group of people was. Even more people. We were like a family at that point. I'm in a wheelchair there. My brother John he lives in Trinidad, holding my wheelchair. Everybody around me. Once I was able to have visitors, I mean, it was just amazing because I was able to walk out of the hospital, get wheeled outside instead of just being in the hospital bed, which we all know isn't the best. But I couldn't have visitors for a while because it was confusing with a traumatic brain injury. No electronics. You can't have anything like that because no TV, because you can be so all over the place. I mean, I was a guy, thought I was in kindergarten, waking up riding an arm bicycle any morning. And riding an arm bicycle, if you've ever done that, you know how tedious that is and how much you don't want to do that. And I realized that once I snapped a little bit back to reality, once I was probably maybe an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old. No, but once I got a little better from that 5-year-old self realization, if you will, it was just never looking back. I was just one gear go, and I wanted out of that hospital. I wanted back into Tampa, but I had to fight for it.
And so once you're out the hospital, I understand you have to go back and forth from the hospital for rehab. Was there any mental health support that you received? A therapist, a counselor, somebody that you could talk to?
Which therapist didn't I have, Leo? We're talking speech therapist, behavioral therapist, occupational therapist, psychiatrist. Everybody played their role with me, and it's awesome because now that I'm one of the boards at TGH, Lisa Stanley was my speech therapist at the time when I was a patient, and she's still at TGH. We're both on this board together, so I got to reconnect and forge a friendship with her. Dr. Angelica Akery still up there, Jamie Powell, Robin, and Ellen Fitz, you name it. The TGH family, and of course CEO John Corris is an amazing individual. Um, if anything had to happen, if this had to happen, I'm glad I got brought to TGH because not only the quality of care, but the family I've been able to make there. I've traveled to Tallahassee, our state capital, to advocate with legislators about causes dear to my heart and causes that support quality of care over just any care because of what happened to me.
It's interesting you brought up how TV, social media, those were things that they said you couldn't expose yourself to. You couldn't turn it on because it could trigger confusion and maybe some other episodes with the traumatic brain injury. I think a lot of us even minus traumatic brain injury, are not aware of how TV and social media can trigger us into some type of emotional episode, some type of hallucination or reactivity. Could you speak to that? Because you talked about how you would not have social media anymore if it wasn't for business.
Oh man, they gave me one shot of this is a good one. They gave me one shot after maybe 2 weeks. I got out of the coma about 6 days or something, and some time goes by. I get my phone or something for the first time. I'm on Facebook telling everybody, hey, I'm coming home. Come meet me at my house. I'm going to shower because I live so close to the hospital. I was envisioning this like a hotel. I'm going to go shower at my house and come back. This whole type thing. And I'm out there telling people, come link up in my house, come hang. My mom's getting calls on the cell phone. My cousin's at the hospital. Created a whole frenzy. And safe to say that was the last time I got to enjoy electronics in my stay at TGH.
I love it. And
Yeah, it was something else, man.
so you talked about how your mom was there to support you. You felt supported by your brother, going to the meetings at the hospital. You had a speech therapist, a psychiatrist, an occupational therapist, psychologist. You had a whole team. Was there anybody or anything else that gave you strength? Are you religious at all?
I am religious. I was raised Catholic, but in the experiences I had, I definitely found God in a new way. I was, you can't even describe some of the points you was at because you don't remember them. It was just such a blur for so many parts. And I'm giving a lot of probably the most preview to my book Left for Dead, A Story of Redemption I ever have because this is me and Leo's third time sitting down with each other. I want to give a good show. I'm talking where the confusion got so bad. I thought because the hospital's overlooking the water at Tampa General, and I thought we were on a boat. I thought I was on a movie set at one point, filming commercials. My buddy Richie, who's Dr. Bazio, he's in both of my mental health books, Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health and Mental Health Week as the expert. But we grew up in high school together and went to college together. I have vivid memories of him bringing his truck, his Range Rover into the hospital on the ramp, and we're just driving on a movie set. Like you name it, it was the most confusing time in the world. And then just to look back, just so how grateful I am where, there was a point I didn't get my memory back for 6.5 years. Or I should say I didn't notice a significant change in my memory for 6.5 years. The road that I went on, I'm just looking forward to gaining more visibility and more credibility so I can share my story more, getting on podcasts like yours, because I like to share what I went through because I know I'm not the only person who ever went through something similar. I know that I'm not the only TBI or the only time someone lived in the hospital for a month or the only coma, you name it. I want to help you through my journey. And when you look more into me after this episode, whether it's my books or my podcasts, I really work hard to give you a piece of my life to help you.
And so to peel back the layers a little bit, like you said, this accident took place at 21 and there were some challenges. I mean, nothing like what you went through at 21 in your childhood. Can you share with us a challenge or two that you underwent even before this?
I would say I want to highlight one challenge, what missed of it, just because of the power of the story. And I really want to share that with your audience, if that's okay. I had this brain injury. I did my finance degree. And once that was done, at this point, I wanted more. I didn't know what more was, but I wanted more. So I studied for my GMAT. I'm putting in the work. I'm talking 8 hours studying because I was in a break between classes. I wasn't allowed back on campus. Still in denial that I would be any different, than my brain was different. I'm talking 8, 9 hours a day, taking these practice tests eventually and bombing them, failing them miserably. And I can't connect the dots why I'm doing bad on these tests. I'm saying study for months at a time, 2 months for this test, take the test, don't do very well, I end up getting waitlisted from schools. I just want to share that story because to never give up on something, if you set your mind to it, no matter how odds are stacked against you, you can do it. I ended up getting waitlisted and going to grad school. It changed my life because I would have been in the corner office, finance banker, and that would have been it. And thank God that I found a different way because what some people love, some people it's not for other people. And once I got a taste of that for one more time after my brain injury, I knew that after going for my MBA, my personality, the tools I learned at school and through my experiences, I'm better off giving back through my story. And that's what actually led me and you to talking, Leo, because I went down this journey.
Absolutely. It's our story where we can find our glory. And I want to
Yes.
emphasize that for the listeners because a lot of people are going through things and there's so much shame around it, so much guilt, and they're afraid to share their story. And it's through sharing our stories that we find others who have been through a similar experience. Not the same, not completely identical, but like you said, a lot of people have been in car accidents. Some people have been in coma. Some people have had to stay in a hospital for a month. Some people have had to learn how to speak again, or speak differently. I had a lisp growing up, and I still get it. Like when I get exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
and having to work with a psychologist and a psychiatrist, and people with rods in their knees or their legs or their arms. And so maybe the whole story is not relatable, but there's a part of the story that we can connect with and bond on and vibe with and find a commonality. So it's so important to share your story, whether it's verbally, whether you write it down, maybe even if it's in your journal, but to get your story out there with a therapist, with a friend, with somebody.
Mm-hmm. Well said, Leo.
Vincent, right now how old are you?
I just turned 30 in August.
All right. So you're 30 years old. How long would you say from the time you left the hospital that you started to feel like, all right, I'm back to 100 or at least 98% or wherever you were like, okay, I'm good.
I don't think I'll ever be there. And it's not sad. It just is what it is. I accept whatever new version of Vincent this is, and I leverage its strengths the best I can. Like I said, I didn't really notice a big shift in my memory for about 6.5 years when I was writing my first book, where I'm so used to writing everything down after I think it because I anticipate me forgetting it. And then I just remembered something at one point and it just put the biggest smile on my face. Very similar to the first time I made the running motion again. I can't run on pavement again because I have the rod in my leg. It is what it is. But the first time I was able to do a running motion, it was like surreal, I swear.
And have you had to change the way you eat? I was going to say diet, but I don't like that word. Have you had to be more mindful about what you're consuming because we know that certain foods can cause inflammation in the body, in the brain. What adjustments have you had to make in that arena?
Well, since I've learned more about mental health because I've made it a priority, I started advocating it, especially with the podcast. Like I've had you on, learning from you. Diet's going to come up 1,000 times, and it's not for a wrong reason. I put it in my books, even the kids' book, because I want people to know that if you think about it, you eat bad stuff, you eat a lot of fast food or something. Chances are you're not feeling too hot after that. You're having fruits and vegetables, some chicken, some rice. You're feeling better and you're getting more energy from that healthy food. I'm not a dietitian, so don't take anything I say as um, advice over and your nutritionist or whatever. But for me, eating cleaner it goes a long way. I feel like it lengthens my day. It helps me think more clearly. And that's not to say I don't have a cheat meal here or there. I'm Italian. I love pizza. I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna eat macaroni here and there. Some things got calories, and I think that another lesson is don't limit to yourself to happiness. Life's too short. Doing things that make you happy, eating things in moderation, if it's that bad, that make you happy, that's going to improve your mental health. Doing things you like, it's going to put a smile on your face.
I love that. And you brought up memory and my girlfriend's, I'm always forgetting things. Like I forgot our anniversary, birthdays, all that kind of thing. Not that I forgot, like, didn't do anything for it, but
Mhm.
like, I had to be reminded that it was coming up. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. It's in a week.
Now you got the
How
calendar phone, man. You got
Yeah,
to put that
yeah,
in
oh yeah, oh yeah. Got it on that repeat, every year.
every year. Yep.
Yeah. And so, what about relationships for you, intimate relationships? Because, before you talked about how the traumatic brain injury can affect mood, memory, all those things that would be vital in connecting with someone else? Where are you at in that arena?
Um, I've chose entrepreneurship over significant other. That doesn't mean I don't date, but it means that I've really been all in on this journey, and I'm really, really close, I feel, to really putting myself in a financial area where maybe I can give a female some time, but there's just no way in the world I can dedicate enough time where it's fair to you to be in a relationship with you. I'm up, you know, 3 a.m. to 3 p.m. is my standard work day, 6 days a week in the gym, somewhere between, 4 and 5. And my day, some days go a little longer. Like today, I have a 5 o'clock Eastern because I'm dealing with somebody on the West Coast. Just so committed to my dream. And I had one foot in, one foot out for so long where this didn't pay anything at one point where I was okay. I had a finance degree. I was doing financial advising, real estate, all while deterring time from this. Said, all right, all in at one point. My grandma's dementia was getting bad. Went back up to New York for a little bit and just took the time to leave corporate again and work a couple lower paying jobs to make time for the book, to make the dream come true. I was teaching English to kids in Beijing, 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. in half-hour classes, grinding. After that, I would do expo work in a kitchen or be a helper for a day or labor, some kind of work. I can't do too much because of my injuries, but I can be a helper and just pick up things, what have you, learn. I was just grinding to make the dream happen. So I do hope one day things fall into place, but I'm not into forcing anything, and I'm not going to force something, especially if there's not time to make it happen.
I love that. And at any point of this journey, were there thoughts of ending your life?
I don't say I ever battled with suicide, but depression, sure, and it could really date back to the beginning where I was just 21 years old. Social media is popping. It's brand new. Instagram 2013. Everybody's on it. I'm a senior. Everybody's doing fun stuff all the time. And I'm watching from my bed. It's with the traumatic brain injury. That was a real big toll on me, that type of stuff, which I think probably corresponds to why I don't like using social media now. The doctors in the beginning gave me a whole bunch of pills because of things that may happen when you didn't even know. I was just getting put on pills. At one point, I thought I was living in a cloud. So I had to slowly wean myself off everything. That's why I'm big into exercise, eating healthy, because I'm trying to do things as natural as possible. And I think that's really gone a long way for me on this entrepreneurial journey. I'm sure for you too, because your days are long as well. Doing a few good things can carry a lot of momentum.
I love that. And is there anything that you're reading or listening to that's really feeding your brain? I know you're spending a lot of time writing, but are there any books that you've read that you, fiction or nonfiction, that really nourished you along the way?
I've been trying to hold myself accountable with the reading. I do a 20-minute. I plan out every day, at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. I got a whiteboard. I plan it out. I write down the three most important things I need to do before bed every day, because when I get to that, I need to find time for reading. If I get too busy, I won't do it. So I pencil it in, 20 minutes of reading. Right now, as I read, I take notes, because what's the point of the book if you don't use it? The one-page marketing plan by Alan Dibb. He was actually episode 100 on my That Entrepreneur Show podcast, trying to find new ways to market myself. I had a notebook as I went through it, so I'm rereading that, and I'm finishing up Three-Word Rebellion by Dr. Michelle Mazer. She was on my shows as well. She talks to you about creating your own one-of-a-kind message, and in this three-word message. And I am on page 95 of that book, so we'll be finishing that up soon. Both of those books I recommend. I wish one thing I did earlier was read self-help books, improvement books, audio books, whatever you want. I think it could go a long way, because I have trouble tuning into outside podcasts often, because when I'm not working, I need that off switch. I need to turn myself off. I put so much time working, 12 to 18 hours a day. Sometimes that business podcast is just a little over the push for me. I got to take care of my mental health. I can't overload myself. As an entrepreneur, I find myself running myself down far too often, but I'm trying to be more mindful of that. As we're recording this today, 1:05 p.m. Eastern, I've already done 5 Zooms on my end, because I'm grinding up, getting ready to go see my family next weekend. Gotta grind it out, but I'm making sure I take my breaks throughout the day, and the weekend will have my mental health day.
And last two questions. You talk about taking breaks throughout the day. So what does a break look like? And I ask this
Thank
because
you. Yes.
a lot of people think that they're taking a break, think they're recovering, they're recuperating, and really they're not. Because, like you said, listening to a podcast, watching TV, scrolling through social media, those really aren't breaks. It doesn't allow your brain to shut off. So, what does your break look like?
Love it. Thank you for asking this because this is a huge confusion point. I highlight all of this in my ebook, my second book, and I created this just during the pandemic because people were working remote and they didn't know what to do. I've been working remote for a while. It's called How to Transform Your Mindset When the Norm Has Changed. I call them productive breaks or mental health breaks. I'm talking laundry. Not looking at the computer for me is my thing. Not looking at the computer. Taking a walk to my mailroom about 5 minutes down the way, coming back, no phone, no distractions, taking in the natural noises, the natural sounds, the air. I'm doing things that are in a productive sense. Going through social media, we all know where that rabbit hole comes from. You can get down there real quick and then just defer your day. You don't need to feed your mind with that junk for that point. There are a lot of productive parts of social media, like the way I use it, but you shouldn't really get distracted with your schedule just to check your timeline. That's not going to put you in the right place. You want to just really detox from the stress of working, but not engage in an activity that's going to take your day off the table and make you want to close up shop. Some
So,
dishes, maybe.
so you talked about laundry, dishes, going for a walk. Is there anything else you want to throw in there?
Let me think. Well, like when I wake up, a big key, I'll give you this is a real big golden nugget for your listeners, Leo. Morning routine is something I take pride in. I've had multiple articles written, I've written, published for my morning routine. Once you wake up, whether it be alarm or natural alarm clock, like me, I have the natural alarm clock. You set a 15-minute alarm on your phone. You do not look at any screens for 15 minutes. That's where I do some of these things that these productive breaks, I insert them in there as well. I'll leave my counter unwiped off. I'll leave one dish next to the sink, something just to get my juices flowing, getting my eyes off the screen, getting ready to rock and roll. From there, I do a 55-minute alarm, and then I take a 5-minute eyes off the screen, then a 50-minute alarm, and then I'm going to the gym, eyes off the screen for 2 hours. You name it. That's what works best for me.
I love that. Eyes off the screen. Yeah, because I had Andrew Huberman on, and he talked about when we're looking at a screen, it prevents our eyes from wandering side to side, and it's that side to side motion that relaxes us and calms our central nervous system when
Mhm.
we're focused on one thing at a time, or
Yes.
not one thing at a time, but when our eyes aren't moving side to side, it actually increases our cortisol levels. So not only are we getting this negative feedback from social media and TV, but then also our body is becoming more and more tense. And the proof of that, I've noticed that like if I'm watching TV for too long and I cut it off, I take a big exhale. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, like my shoulders drop, I can feel my heart rate lower, and I'm just like, whoa, I didn't realize I was that tense. Even if you're watching a comedy, just to be locked into something for so long. So I appreciate you
Mhm.
sharing, doing laundry, doing the dishes, going for a walk. For me, I also might meditate. I picked up the guitar, and so
Nice.
practicing the guitar. I'm not playing any songs, but just practicing, like you said, eyes off the screen, doing something where I'm not looking at this. I don't know, what is it, 3 by 5, however big the
I mean,
screen
it's a
is.
nightmare. Unfortunately, you need a social presence. I've had the problem where since I don't enjoy social media very much, since I don't use it much, I don't gain followers as quickly. I have had trouble getting new representation because I don't have, they want these 20,000, 30,000 followers. And I said, listen, I can go buy them like everybody else is doing, or you can just rock with my real followers, my real subscribers who appreciate my content or are involved with me some way and follow me. So the social world, it is what it is. I just feel like I have a presence as far as money comes. I don't feel a school or a business won't hire me because I don't post every day opposed to having a presence, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you do talk at a lot of schools. I've seen the photos where you're
Yeah.
talking at elementary schools, you're talking at high schools, you're talking at businesses. Is there a story that someone has shared with you from all these talks and all the messages you received and the books that you've written that has stuck with you, that feeds you and keeps you on a journey?
Yeah, well, something I don't I try to be humble with everything I do. I need to ask for more recommendations and testimonials on my website, vincentalanci.com. I've got all of those, but the one that stuck out the most was not a written recommendation. It was Thanksgiving week when I first started doing my speaking right after my brain injury for a few years. I would go there to let the kids know what they should be thankful for. I'd be in the little theater at Northport High School. Shout out to the Tigers. And it would be different classes would come down during the different periods, and I would do a presentation. You know, the principal had said, he said, "I never seen these kids not on their phones for so long, Ben. Thank you." But these kids, the kids that would come up to me and say, "Thank you," like they got something out of it. These little kids, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, and then I go up to the high school with ninth, 10th, 11th grade. Well, all they care about is their friends. It's a different world. They're paying attention to me, and these kids are coming up to me saying, "Hey, thank you," and they took something away. That's what it's all about. And you obviously want to positively impact the whole world, but you got to take baby steps. And when you're in an engagement, if you could really impact one person, hopefully all of them, but really get to one person, your job's done.
I love it. And what are you looking forward to, Vincent A. Lanci?
I am looking forward to Thanksgiving, man. It's my favorite holiday. Families all together, best food, some good football on. This year, probably going to be spending it in Florida, actually. First time away from my mom, dad, and sister. I'm going home next weekend, whenever this airs, November 14th. Jets, Bills. Not looking forward to the cold, but I'm looking forward to seeing some friends and family, doing a little group game over there in the Meadowlands. But Thanksgiving, I love that. My aunt here in Florida, probably spend it with my aunt Pat here. Um, Thanksgiving, man, it's my favorite.
I love it, man. I love your
Be
zest for
around your
life.
family, your friends, thankful for everything in front of you. It's gonna be a good day.
A good day indeed, man. Thank you for spending this time with us. Plug all your things. You already talked about your website. Plug it again, Vincent A. Lanci. Go ahead and brag about yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to do so, Leo, and I want to thank you again for inviting me on your show. I always have a good time with you. My last name is Lanc, as in Carl. That's my last name. My handles are at Vincent A. Lanci on all social media. YouTube is Vincent A. Lanci. Definitely subscribe to that channel because that's where you get the exclusive show, Writing with Authors, which we're going to have to get Leo on, and Vince Story share, as well as just exclusive videos. I just started doing that YouTube channel because I had the shiny object syndrome with Instagram for far too long. I'm sorry for neglecting all you YouTubers. And also definitely drop me your YouTube channel so I could be sure to support you and subscribe to you as well. The books that everybody would love on this platform, again, is Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health and Mental Health Week. They're both on Amazon, so you can prime them tomorrow. If you wanted a signed copy or bulk orders, please let me know. DM me or email me, info@vincentalanci.com, as well for speaking engagements. You heard me on Leo's podcast. You let me know that. We'll find a way to discount some of that cost for sure.
I love it. And last question, because I always imagine there's one person listening in who may be on the precipice of wanting to end their life. Before you kill yourself, what would you say to them, Vincent A. Lanci?
Just want to let you know that everybody is going through something dark, but if you take a second to think of some of the happiest moments in your life, just know those moments are going to come again. For every dark day, it just means a brighter day's tomorrow. If it's raining today, that just means the sun's coming out tomorrow. Just got to have a little patience and faith, but you can make it.
Thank you, Vincent A. Lanci. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Remember, this podcast is not a substitute for you going to get help, for you calling the 1-800-SUICIDE or 1-800-273-TALKS or the other international phone numbers that are in there. If you live in Italy, if you live in Bulgaria, if you live in Nairobi, wherever you are, there's an international phone number for you listed in the show notes. You can talk, you can text, you can chat. You call a friend, call an enemy. Enemy is always willing to talk to you and hear about your pain. They revel in it. So call somebody, call customer service. They're not doing anything. They get paid to talk. As long as you don't curse at them, they can't hang up on you. So call somebody. Somebody wants to hear your pain. They want to hear your story. They want to hear your story. Your story is worthy. That's where your glory is. You can always go to 1-800-2. You can always go to Thrive with Leo com for one-on-one coaching with yours truly. Let's get to tomorrow together. Thank you so much, Vincent.
Thank you so much for inviting me to interact with your audience. Everyone, thank you for giving us the time.